Judith, the 5th chapter, in the Apocrypha. You know, we just came from Ezekiel 39 and 23, how the heathen know that we're in captivity for our wickedness, for our sins, sinning against the Most High. Therefore, the Most High hid his face from us. So these other nations outside the 12 tribes of Israel, they know this. Let's read a little bit about what they know. Let's go to Judith, the 5th chapter. And let's start at verse 7. And they sojourned heretofore in Mesopotamia, because they would not follow the gods of their fathers, which were in the land of Chaldea. For they left the way of their ancestors and worshipped the power of heaven, the God of heaven, the God whom they knew. So they cast them out from the face of their gods, and they fled into Mesopotamia and sojourned there many days. Then their power commanded them to depart from the place where they sojourned and to go into the land of Canaan, which is the land of Israel, where they dwelt and were increased with gold and silver, blessed us, and with very much cattle. You see? So when we went to Egypt, we wasn't just going to Egypt and being in captivity, because once once Pharaoh died, the first Pharaoh that Joseph was under, then Joseph became power. And we ruled for about 4 dynasties, where they dwelt in Canaan and were increased with gold and silver and with very much cattle. That's why when you look at, let's go to Exodus, the 1st chapter. Exodus, the 1st chapter. And you're going to see, in a comparison I'm going to give you to make note of. Exodus 1 and 7. And the children of Israel were fruitful. Let's read up from that, because it said, and Joseph died, verse 6, and all his brethren and all that generation, right? So Joseph was right under the Pharaoh. We was ruling as shepherd kings. It says, and the children of Israel were fruitful and increased abundantly, had a lot of children, and multiplied and waxed exceeding mighty. You see? Exceeding mighty. Are we exceeding mighty now? No. And the land was filled with them. Now there arose up a new king over Egypt, Ramses II, which knew not Joseph. See? Joseph had lived and reigned and died, and his brothers died. But this Pharaoh that rose up did not know Joseph. And he said unto his people, behold, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we. Come on. More and mightier than the Egyptians. Are we mightier than the Edomites that have us in captivity now? Since they saying we was in captivity, we wasn't in captivity at this time. It says, come on, and let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply, and it come to pass that when they fall out on any war, they join also unto our enemies. We the Israelites, as we mighty, join to the enemies and fight against us, fight against the Egyptians, the Hamites, and so get them up out of the land. This the plot he had. Therefore did they set over them taskmasters to afflict them with their burdens. And they built for Pharaoh treasure cities, Pithom and Ramses. But the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied and grew. And they were grieved because of the children of Israel. See, the Egyptians made the children of Israel to serve this in captivity with rigor. See, and they made their lives bitter and hard, with hard bondage, in mortar and brick, and in all manner of service in the field. All their service wherein they made them serve was with rigor, or hard labor. You see what I'm saying? It's captivity. Going back to the Apocrypha, Judith, the 5th chapter. Verse 10. But when the famine covered all the land of Canaan, the land of Israel, they went down into Egypt and sojourned there. Remember, Joseph was already there. And so his father and mother and his brothers, sisters and so forth, family came into the land of Egypt because he had already, told the Pharaoh that the famine was coming. And they prepared for it. So they went down into Egypt and sojourned there while they were nourished, and became there a great multitude that we just read, so that one could not number their nation. Therefore the king of Egypt rose up against them, that Pharaoh that came up, that didn't know Joseph, that we just read about, and dwelt subtilly with them, same thing we just read, and brought them low with laboring and brick, and made them slaves. See? You see how the Apocrypha goes right along with the Revised Version of the King James 611 Bible? Then they cried unto their power, as we got to do right now. And he smote all the land of Egypt with incurable plagues. He brought 10 plagues upon them. So the Egyptians cast them out of their sight. And the Most High dried the Red Sea before them and brought them to Mount Sinai. This is another nation, talking about what happened with us, knowing our story. In Kadesh Barnea, and cast forth all that dwelt in the wilderness. So they dwelt in the land of the Amorites, and they destroyed by their strength all them of Esau, and passing over Jordan, they possessed all the hill country. And they cast forth before them the Canaanite, the Perizzite, the Jebusite, the Simonite, and all the Girgasites, and they dwelt in the country many days. And whilst they sinned not before their power, for the Most High power of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, they prospered. Because the Most High that hated iniquity was with them. When we sin not, we prosper. And we prospered because the Most High is with us. But when they departed from the way which he appointed them, they were destroyed in many battles, very sore, and were led captives into a land that was not theirs. See? We was led captives into a land that was not ours. And the temple of their power was cast to the ground, and their cities were taken by the enemies. But now, just see what happened? We didn't follow the law, statutes, commandments of the Most High. We were taken into captivity over and over again. He's saying, but now are they returned to their power. Meaning we coming back to the law, statutes, commandments of the Most High, and repented and come back to the law, statutes, commandments of the Most High, and are come up from the places where they were scattered, and have possessed Jerusalem, where their sanctuary is, and are seated in the hill country, for it was desolate. Now therefore, my master and governor, if there be any error in this people, and they sin against their power, this is what the heathen know. Let us consider that this shall be their ruin, and let us go up, and we shall overcome them. So what you think? The nation's going to show you and tell you, or we're telling you to repent and come back to the law, statutes, commandments of the Most High? No, we're not going to do that. They're going to keep you eating pork, shrimp, crab, lobster, catfish, all the abominations that you want to eat. And some of you don't care. You just still going to eat it anyway. Eating up all jacked up with high pressure, no pressure, low pressure, all kind of madness. These things that we're dealing with behind our diet. They know this. In putting all the abominations that they put before us, and we learning to teaching the children to be abominable from a young age on. Man, it's sad. That's why he said, Now, therefore, my Lord and governor, if there be any error in this people, and they sin against their power, we break the Most High's commandments, his laws and statutes, let us consider that this shall be their ruin, and let us go up, and we shall overcome them. When we sin before the Most High, because he turned his face away from us. He turned his face away from us when we sinning against him. And these nations can overcome us. But if this condition happens, there be no iniquity in their nation, that my Lord now pass by, lest their master, their power, defend them. Get that? All we got to do is keep the law, statutes, commandments of the Most High. And the Most High going to defend us. He said, lest their power, the Most High power, defend them, and their power be for them, and we become a reproach before all the world. So, you got a choice. Choose life or death. Choose what's right, what's righteous, keeping the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High, or you could choose the lake of fire. Because that's what's promised to you, where the worms never die and the fires never quench. Or the kingdom that we talked about, that spoke about, when the Most High told us in Isaiah 66. Let's look a little bit at it before we depart from each other. Isaiah 66 chapter. Isaiah the 66th chapter and the 22nd verse. It says, for as the new heavens and the new earth, which I will make, the Most High is saying, you can make new heavens and a new earth, shall remain before me, said the Most High, so shall your seed and your name remain. Remember he told us in, I mentioned it, but let's read it, in Isaiah 60th chapter, and verse 21 to 22, it says, thy people also shall be all righteous. They shall inherit the land forever. This is the people that's going to the kingdom, the 1/3. They're going to be all righteous. They shall inherit the land forever. The branch of my planting. You see? The Most High going to plant us in the land. The work of my hands. The Most High's hands going to plant us in the land. That I may be glorified. That the Most High can be glorified. A little one shall become 1,000. Hear that? A little one going to become 1,000. And a small one a strong nation. The Most High will hasten it in his time. See? A little one will become 1,000, and a small one a strong nation. He said he's going to do it in his time. So now going back to Isaiah 66 and 22, he says, for as the new heavens and the new earth, which I will make, the Most High going to make, shall remain before thee, said the Most High, so shall your seed and your name remain. And it shall come to pass that from one new moon in the kingdom to another, since y'all say it don't matter, the law don't matter, it's new moon to another, which, look at the new moon, Psalms 81. Right quick, just read Psalms 81st chapter. Let's start at verse 1. Sing aloud unto the Most High, our strength. Make a joyful noise unto the Most High power of Jacob. You understand that? Not of the whole world, but of Jacob. Jacob being the forefather of the 12 tribes of Israel. Say, take a psalm. That's a song. And bring hither the timbrel and the present harp, the piano, the harp. Piano is just a harp that's horizontal, where the harp is vertical. Piano is horizontal with keys on it. With the psalmistry. Blow up the trumpet in the new moon. See? Blow up the trumpet in the new moon in the time appointed on our solemn feast day. For this was a statute for Israel and a law. Hear this? A law of the Most High power of Jacob. See? This he ordained in Joseph for a testimony. When he went out through the land of Egypt, where I heard a language that I understood not. Ain't that something? Now how are you going to hear them praying in their language to the Most High power of Abraham, Isaac? He said he went through Egypt and he heard a language he didn't even understand. That's how much he cared about other nations. Now let's go back to Isaiah 66:22. But you have a problem, you got to take it up with the Most High. That's what he said he heard a language that he didn't understand in the land of Egypt. He went through the land of Egypt and he ordained the new moon as a law. When Joseph, what we read about Joseph, we just reading about, Joseph, we just read about in Judith, the 5th chapter. So it says, verse 23 of Isaiah the 66th chapter, and it shall come to pass that from one new moon to another, which is the law of the Most High, that represents the first day of the month, the new moon. And from one Sabbath to another, every 7 days, the Sabbath, and the holy days or Sabbaths, shall all flesh come to worship before me, said the Most High. So we're going to still be, doing the things that we're rehearsing right now. And keeping the new moons and the Sabbath days and the holy days, holy convocation of the Most High. So, and they shall go forth and look upon the carcasses, that's the dead bodies, of the men that have transgressed against me. We got to see this. For their worms shall not die, neither shall their fire be quenched, and they shall be in a whoring unto all flesh. They're going to be hating to all flesh. But one thing it's going to do, going to keep us in line. Because if you transgress against the Most High, you'll be right there. Ain't no mercy and grace. You're going to be right there too. Oh, yeah. That's why we're going to be righteous. So I say, we all going to be righteous. We're going to keep the laws of the Most High. Seeing this, wouldn't you say? I mean, you seeing that? I know you're going to think about it. Like Marshall Shah said, go to Mark, the 9th chapter. Mark, the 9th chapter. Verse 44. He said, where their worm dieth not? Well, let's read verse 43. And if thy hand offend thee, cut it off. Whatever you handling, whatever you doing that's wrong with your hands, cut it off. It is better for thee to enter into life, that's everlasting life, maimed, than having 2 hands to go into hell, into the fire that never shall be quenched. Listen to what he say. Where the worm dieth not, and the fire is not quenched. See? And if thy foot offend thee, wherever you walk into, wherever you going, cut it off. Stop doing it. It is better for thee to enter hot into life than having 2 feet. You cut your foot off. Than having 2 feet to be cast into hell, into the fire that never shall be quenched, where their worm dieth not, and the fire is not quenched. Now, y'all think I'll just be saying that, huh? And if thine eye offend thee, what you looking at offend thee, pluck it out. It is better for thee to enter into the kingdom of Most High with 1 eye than having 2 eyes to be cast into hell fire, where their worm dieth not. I mean, the worm's never going to die, eating you up continually, and the fire is not quenched. So, there you have it. So we have a good time. Think about it. We have a good time. Like we have good times at the feast and so forth. And after all that, before we go home, we got to see these dead bodies, these dead carcasses of those that have trespassed against the Most High. And what if it's somebody that you knew? Somebody you know. Last holy convocation, it was all having a good time. And then when you come back, there they are, burning. Ugh. Where the worms never die and the fires never quench. Think about it. That's why you gotta understand the fact of the matter. Most I told us in Ezekiel 22 and 20. I ain't been there in a long time. I got to go here, y'all. Ezekiel 22 and 20. I got to represent the Most High. He said, as they gather silver and brass and iron and lead and tin into the midst of the furnace to blow the fire upon it, to melt it, so will I gather you in my anger and in my fury, and I will leave you there and melt you. Ooh. Yeah, I will gather you and blow upon you in the fire of my wrath, and ye shall be melted in the midst thereof. As silver is melted in the midst of the furnace, so shall you be melted in the midst thereof. And ye shall know, this is what he's saying, you shall know that I, the Most High, have poured out my fury upon you. You ready for that? I hope you'll change. That's why you got to become a new creature. When you come into the understanding of a Mashiach that was shy, when he told you, you got to be born again. You got to become a new creature. You got to become a new man and a new woman so that you are a changed individual. Straight up. And you won't continue to do the things that would make the Most High angry. Make the Most High angry, what you think he's going to do? Show you favor? No. Look. 2 Corinthians 5 and 17. 2 Corinthians 5 and 17. Therefore, if any man be in a Mashiach or be rolling by Hashem Mashiach Devashai, those that have died and going to be raised up that understood by Hashem Mashiach Devashai, rolling in the name of the Lord and Savior, he is a new creature, you see. That's changed. Old things are passed away. Behold, all things are become new. So if you're the same old person that you've been, the same person that you always have been, and somebody knew you of old, they say, oh, you still the same. You ain't changed. You're not no Israelite. You still a Gentile. Because you was a Gentile then. I'm just giving you facts. You was a Gentile then, and you a Gentile now. You said old things are passed away. That old man is done away with. Behold, all things have become new. That's why I go to Romans 12, chapter, verse 1. He said, I beseech thee, brethren, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of the Most High, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice. Mashiach was that ultimate sacrifice. Now we got to present our bodies a living sacrifice, giving up something to change for the better. Holy, he's saying. How you going to be holy and you don't do what the Most High say do? His rules and regulations, his laws, statutes, commandments. Acceptable unto the Most High. Only way you're going to be acceptable to the Most High is to do what he says to do, which is your reasonable service. He said, it's your reasonable service. And be not conformed to this world. So don't be conformed to this world, but be ye transformed. That's the change, people. By the renewing of your mind. It starts with your mind, the way you think. That ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of the Most High. What this is all about. Because 2 Corinthians 5 and 10. For you must all, that's all of us, appear before the judgment seat of a Mashiach Yahushua, that every one may receive the things done in his body, according to that he hath done, whether it be good or bad, whether you're righteous or evil. Knowing therefore the terror of a Mashiach Yahushua as a destroyer. We persuade men, but we are made manifest unto the Most High, and I trust also are made manifest in your consciences, the way you think now. Ecclesiastes, the 12th chapter, and the 13th verse. Ecclesiastes 12 and 13. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear the Most High. Be afraid of the Most High. Be scared of the Most High. Respect Him completely with every fiber of your existence. Fear the Most High. And keep His commandments. For this is the whole duty of man. He said, fear the Most High and keep His commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. For the Most High shall bring every work into judgment, with every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil. Because people think they get away with things, but the Most High eyes are 10,000 times brighter than the sun, beholding all the ways of men. And the secret things too. With every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil. See? That's why Master Messiah said He's going to judge you according to what you've done, whether it was good or evil. He said bad in the New Testament, but it's still evil. So, I hope this was edifying. I hope that you will take into consideration the change that we have to make in our lives to be righteous in the eyes of the Most High, and He can protect us and cry unto the Most High so He hear us and have pity on us. Only time He have pity on us. Hopefully enough of us will hear this and change so that we'll be safe and sound and be under His wings, His feathers. And with that, I'm out. Shalom. All praises to the Most High.